So, last part of Erdc we want to talk about Chief, how are you? Good to see you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
So, you guys want to talk a little bit about what you do and how you figure in Cerl and Construction Research, Engineering Research Laboratory, and what is that all about?
Yeah, of course. So the main project I work on is Robotics Engineer Operations Group, which its main focus is to get the Army engineer out of harm's way. They're providing standoff capabilities such as teleoperated construction equipment and autonomous site characterization platform.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that's a recurring theme, right, in all the industry.
Yes, sir.
Cat's thinking about how they can go to autonomous, semi-autonomous. You got other companies that are talking about it. How do we link that with what Trimble's doing in terms of geospatial? And yet, we've got our own part of our branch who's looking at this very problem different because you're looking at it from the soldier's perspective.
Exactly, sir.
And so, where do you see it all going?
Yeah, so we work with those companies as well. We pull in different pieces, and we work on integrating those together to actually fit it for the Army engineer. So the idea is to have this as a capability to work with the Army engineer and be able to have them be kilometers away and operating this equipment. Having a force multiplier. You can have one soldier operating multiple pieces of equipment overseeing it.
Yeah, and that's one aspect is we talk a lot about how do we get the soldier out of harm's way. But there's also just routine tasks that we could do far more efficient if we were able to leverage the full suite of semi-autonomous, autonomous capabilities. And where do you see that going in terms of construction?
Yeah, exactly. You know, the main first thing pops in my head is like road repair, you know, mechanical breaching, the kind of things where we send out a soldier out there first where they're in danger, and also that can take a lot of time. So being able to create the routes for transportation and fuel and food, that's one of the main things that we can see this capability being used for.
Okay, and so if you're a young leader out there now, and you know that this, what are things that you ought to be, skills that you're going to have that are going to be different? So leaders are going to have to think a little bit different in order to fully maximize these kinds of capabilities. What are some of those skills?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, we try to make the system user-friendly. You know, we use a lot of common systems like Xbox controllers, something soldiers are familiar with. And I think the tricky thing is to be able to understand all the data. We collect a lot of data at once, and we spend a lot of time processing that data so it is useful to the Army engineer.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more on understanding the environment, and it's going to be different seeing the world in kind of 3D. You understand how you want to plan out your operation.
So I think you hit on it, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'll jump in there a little bit more. So I think some of our maintenance type of MOSs might need to change a little bit because
this becomes a different ball game, right?
This is a different ball game. The capability is not completely mechanical. There's big components of electronics and computer science in there. One of the things that we're trying to do, as Dylan is alluding to, is trying to make things as simple as possible. But we'll have to change our training moving forward a little bit.
Okay. Chief, what do you think?
So for us, construction, additive construction is huge at Cerl. So we're using 3D printing for structures now. So we're developing UFCs.
Yeah, which blows my mind.
Exactly.
3D printing,
3D printing
for buildings.
For buildings, sir. So right now, currently, at Fort Bliss, we have structures that have been printed, and then our team, additive team at Cerl, is going down there and doing testing on that. So we're helping develop UFCs, UFGCSs for building codes. So right now, structures like this are popping up around the world, and there's failures. So the team, additive team at Cerl, is publishing failures, results, tests with industry, with academia, to make sure we move additive construction forward instead of backwards.
Yeah, so the idea here is, look, you are learning literally from every construction project that's using this new technology in order to make it better.
We also have operational energy and operational water. So we're looking at digital metering and monitoring on the battlefield, so we can actually see what type of, what our usage is. Like we can actually look at it and say, hey, our consumption is this and this, right?
Huge problem interacting.
Absolutely, sir. So then we also have the mobile, our hybrid trailer. We're able to pull generators off the system, use our load bank, able to balance loads better, and then also fuel consumption, logistical aspects, we'll lower that. So DMS, we're using it all over the board right now, the team at Cerl, and that's digital metering and monitoring, and that's able to give you factual data on consumption and usage.
So, what I love about Cerl is you're not looking at construction. You're looking at construction in a contingency environment, which is where the Army engineer breathes. Right? And one of the skills I think I'd like to talk about a little bit is for the longest time we've all said we really don't need to understand geospatial. But now all of these systems, everything we're doing is you have to become an expert in being able to leverage what data is out there and then know what sensor I can also put out there to get the next level resolution to make this project go. And how are you all interfacing with the rest of the enterprise on the whole geospatial piece?
You want to take this?
Yeah, sure. So, sir, we pull the data we can from places like NGA Grid and other available sources from USGS, the Buckeye systems, and we use that as kind of our base area that we our mapping platform, and we build on top of the map and push it back. So that's kind of our workspace is we're able to use what's out there, add to it, and then push it back to the system.
Yeah, so we just got a chance to look at some of the LiDAR that's coming on. That gives us that next level of resolution
Exactly,
to be able to drape over top of what we already know from NGA.
Sir, if I may jump in here, so if you walk outside and see one of our platforms out there, all the companies that you're mentioning, Caterpillar, Trimble, we have cooperative research and development agreements with those folks. So their engineers and we are working together on the same problem set, which is geared towards the Army, not the commercial problem set.
Right.
What we're doing is taking the latest and greatest COTS sensors that you're seeing in this building, we're integrating them into an Army-based solution. They'll be able to operate in unstructured environments, challenging environments that the Army goes to. We tell the Trimble guys, hey, you know, your X7 scanner is great, but here's the next thing we need.
Yeah.
And our goal with the robotics unmanned capability is to be able to send these things forward without a soldier attached to the scanner and do it safely and get that ground truth on the data. So my geospatial data set might be a week old, a month old. I'll tell you the geospatial data set for Fort Leonard Wood is from 2019. So when we're trying to do an exercise here, we really need to know what it looks like right now. You know, what units rotated through here and what has changed before we put a robot on the ground. We can send that robot forward, do that recon, get the latest and greatest ground truth. And as my colleague here is saying, we have a way to push it back up to the grid, etc., so that it's available to everybody. So that's the technical side of it. I'm sorry I cut you off. But then there's a training aspect of it. I completely agree with you. Everybody needs to get trained on just utilizing geospatial data sets.
Yeah, I mean, we became proficient in cell phones, right? Because we can't live without them. For the engineer, better get proficient in geospatial because you can't live without it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so look, I appreciate all you guys have done.
Thanks, sir.
Dylan, thanks
Thank
very
you so
much,
much.
Chief. Thanks very much. Again, another example of what Erdc is doing for us, looking at construction, taking emerging technologies, but making them applied in a contingency operation, again, focused on what Army soldiers need out there in the ground. So this is it from Erdc, and I'm just telling you, a fantastic organization. And what they didn't talk about is you can become a member of this. There are places, Chief, you're a great example. He found his way now as part of Erdc. There are opportunities to serve at Erdc and really fulfill a vital function for this regiment. All right, remember what I tell you, lead to serve.